simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
We keep at these extraordinary measures for the Fed, I guess not just the Fed here, but central banks around the globe.
Yes, but who knows when money printing runs out of control? And at the end, if you print too much, you end up in something like Venezuela.
Explain cryptocurrency by clicking a link to TV's most beloved scientist, Mr. Jim Parsons.
People think I'm a nerd, but I'm actually super cool. That's why I'm here to talk about the really cool subject of distributed consensus-based cryptocurrency. Kachinga. Could a nerd do that? I don't think so. For cryptocurrency to work, we need a record of every transaction that occurs. These are recorded in what's called a distributed ledger.
I'm a consensus of shared and synchronized digital data spread across multiple platforms from Shanghai to Grenada. Each day I'm closer to being cash of the future, not in your wallet, I'm in your computer. Oh yeah!
When you use the currency, the transaction is recorded in the ledger.
I can dig it.
And when one ledger book gets filled up, we add to a chain of previous books. That's the blockchain.
Later, glitches.
If you'd like to learn more about how cryptocurrencies work, here's everything else you need to know. And goodbye from me, super cool Jim Parsons. It went in! It went in!
Hello and welcome to my channel. I will be your link to the crypto world of assets and crypto news. I'm CryptoLink, and boy oh boy, I got some news for you today. Refresh coin market cap: Bitcoin $9,700, Ethereum 243, XRP 20 cents, standard in a bit of decline. Whoops, a bit of decline, but he is gonna show us his power soon, I believe. So let's see, market cap to $276 billion, Bitcoin dominance 64.8, it's in decline. I don't know why can't we see the Ethereum dominance. It's 27 billion, so it's almost 10%. It's missing like half a billion dollars for 10% to be on the total market cap. It's simple math. So let's jump to the news, guys. Alright, Winklevoss twins to help produce Bitcoin billionaires book for film. So Bitcoin movie is coming. So Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss will have produced a film based on the best-selling book that features their entrance into the world of Bitcoin. As reported by Deadline on Monday, the twins will work with Stampede Ventures to turn Bitcoin billionaires by Ben Mezrich into a movie. Stampede is an entity created by Greg Silverman, formerly known as Warner Bros., president of production, to fund Blockbuster Entertainment. Bitcoin Billionaires is a non-fictional book that tells the tale of how, amid their struggles after their famous court battle with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, that Winklevoss brothers happened across cryptocurrency and decided to make a big bet on the youthful technology. Cameron and Tyler previously worked with Mesrich on the Accidental Billionaires, the book that became the Oscar-winning film The Social Network. Silverman told Deadline that after reading Bitcoin Billionaires, it was evident that Cameron and Tyler's remarkable redemption story, coupled with Ben's masterful writing, would lend itself to a one-of-a-kind movie. He further describes the upcoming movie as Rocky II meets Wall Street. Since the early days in crypto, Cameron and Tyler have gone on to the launch a regulated cryptocurrency exchange, Gemini, and a stable coin called the Gemini Dollar, GUSD. The brothers were among the first to have become billionaires through investing in Bitcoin. Alright, I'm looking forward to this movie. Alright, let's go to the Fidelity Report. Number of institutions buying crypto futures doubled in 2020. Fidelity Digital Assets subsidiary found the number of US institutional investors buying crypto derivatives products jumped up significantly in 2020. Fidelity Digital Assets said institutional settlements was improving in relations to cryptocurrencies. Almost 80% of investors surveyed finding something appealing about the asset class, it said. But what's far more interesting is right down into the guts of survey, talking about how institutional investors are increasing their portfolio allocation to cryptocurrencies, to the top one, unsurprisingly, being Bitcoin. It goes on to say 22% of the US respondents invested in digital assets have exposure via futures, which is a substantial increased relative to 9% of US investors survey in 2019. Alright, the survey, which took place between November and March, spoke to 774 institutions in the US and in Europe, with 393 coming from the States. That means around 86 US institutions traded crypto futures this year compared to 40 in the 2019 survey. So that means we even more than doubled. Fidelity Report ventures that recent market growth in the number of crypto native and incumbent service providers offering cash and physical settlement future contracts may help explain the large increase in crypto futures exposure among institutions. Boston-based Fidelity Investments is one of the largest asset managers in the world. In a press release, it claims to have more than 7.9 trillion worth of clients' assets under their administration. In 2018, it unveiled its digital asset wing to provide custody and trade execution services for US-based institutional investors in December last year. It set up a new entity to service institutions in Europe. The survey, which was released Tuesday, also found 36% of respondents, that means from 279 institutions in the US and Europe, were currently already invested in digital assets. Hedge funds and venture funds were also were the two buckets with the greatest exposure, although Fidelity also found a strong showing among family offices and high net worth individuals. These results confirmed a trend we are seeing in the markets toward greater interest and in acceptance of digital assets as a new investable asset class. Interestingly, it appears European institutions, 45%, were much more likely to hold crypto compared to their American counterparts, 27%. This trend also played out in sentiment, where 82% of European institutional investors found something appealing about digital assets, as opposed to 74% in the US. Let's jump to the next news. Ripple, my favorite. All the next news are from Ripple or for XRP. Ripple OTC distribution wallet moves 80 million XRP, almost 1 billion XRP, almost 1% of whole total supply. Guys, this means something. Well, Earth detected 800 million XRP outflow from Ripple OTC wallet. The OTC wallet outflow is worth over $160 million. In a series of 4 transactions, 800 million XRP left Ripple's OTC distribution wallet, according to Whale Alert. The total outflow is equates to over 160 billion at the time of press. So we can see here it's 70 hours ago, and the date is June 9th, and it's the first transaction is 200, 200, 200, 200, one after another, 4 in a row. And this is just yesterday, or like 18 hours ago, and they had like $500 million last week, or 700 million, so it's like 1.5 billion in 10 days. You can find it all on Whale Alerts. It's too deep down, I tried to find it, but you can follow Whale Alerts on Twitter, Whale bottom dash alerts. It's not called bottom dash, it's I don't know how it's called. It's Whale Alerts, you'll find him easily. He got many followers. Okay, Ripple says XRP lawsuit fails to show CEO committed fraud. Oh great, that's good news, guys. That means Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse are getting off the hook. So, says an ongoing lawsuit fails to show that how Garlinghouse committed fraud when allegedly selling millions of dollars worth of XRP in 2017. Lawyers represent the San Francisco-based blockchain company said in a court motion Monday that lead plaintiff Bradley Sostax has not demonstrated how a series of supposedly fraudulent statements made by Garlinghouse and Ripple employees were anything of this kind. In the US, the threshold for what can be considered fraud is based on Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 9b, which stipulates plaintiff must show 2 things. First, how fraud was actually committed. Second, that it was done so with scienter. The defendants knew they were misleading others. Ripple lawyer argued that plaintiff's amended complaint, which was filed in March, did not fulfill the first prerequisite. Plaintiff's FAC First Amendment complaint identifies the allegations that purport to contain false statements or reads the feeling, but these alleged misrepresentations cannot be shown to be considered fraudulent, and plaintiff does not and cannot explain how and why these statements are false. In the case of Garlinghouse, the plaintiff circles around the statement he made on December 14, when after being asked if he held any XRP as an investment, he said he was very long XRP as a percentage of my personal balance sheet. In the amended complaint, the plaintiff alleged the XRP ledger showed Garlinghouse sold any XRP he received from Ripple within days of such receipt, and that rather than being long, he was dumping XRP on retail investors in exchange for dollars and other cryptocurrencies. In total, Sosta claims Garlinghouse sold 67 million XRP tokens worth roughly 58 million on December, which he alleges contained as a misrepresentation, as it coincides with the time he was also publicly claiming to be very long XRP. But Ripple's dispute the statement was fraudulent. The lawyers first contest Sostack's claim that Garlinghouse sold a sizable share of his tokens. Plaintiff fails to plead what percentage of his personal balance sheet the alleged sales constitute. They then argue that just because Garlinghouse sold XRP doesn't mean he wasn't still bullish on the tokens prospects. selling a portion of one's XRP holdings does not mean that the seller cannot also be very, very long in the same asset as a percentage of his or her own personal balance sheet. The feeling continues. By way of example, a wine collector who amasses a vast collection of fine wines can be said to be long on wines as a percentage of her net worth. That doesn't change if the collector decides to sell a few or even many bottles. Ripple lawyers are asking the court to dismiss all three counts of fraud without leave to amend and with prejudice. That will forbid the plaintiff for accusing the company or clearinghouse on similar legislations for the remainder of the lawsuit. And this is the full motion lawsuit below, with I don't know how many pages, 28, something like that, 28 or 16. I don't know. I will link every link from my research into the description of video, so you can find it. Saudi Monetary Authority pumped sum of 13 billion bank infusion using blockchain. Alright, on Monday, the central bank announced it had deposited part of a recent banking sector liquidity pump through blockchain technology after injecting 15 billion rials, $13.3 billion into local bank on June 1st. At the time, SAMA, the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, said banks maintained an average liquidity coverage ratio of 201%, meaning Saudi banks had more than enough cash on hand to cover short-term obligations. The banking sector averages capital adequacy ratio, essentially a measurement of financial soundness, was 18.6%, placing the banks in the line with the kingdom's long-standing target of between 18 and 20%. SAMA did not disclose which banks received liquidity injections over blockchain or how much of the overall package SAMA had pumped across the blockchain. Furthermore, it did not state what blockchain platform it has used. The action appears to be the first case of SAMA providing liquidity via blockchain. It is not, however, the central bank's first foray into blockchain tech. SAMA began trailing Ripple's X-Current for cross-border payments in 2018. A Ripple representative did not immediately answer questions regarding the company's ongoing partnership status or whether X-Current played a role in SAMA liquidity pump. So we all know that Ripple actually gave them the liquidity because XRP is king of the liquidity, but they won't admit it yet because they're starting to pump those accounts with XRP. So we are very close to the XRP real price. So I'm looking forward to that. My bags are packed and I'm hopefully we'll make some party and go to the moon together. And thanks for watching, stay tuned and talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.
What they call stable coins. They're not stable, but what they mean by stable coins is a return to the fiat currencies, but rather than being in the form of paper, now they're in a not digital, because we've been in digital form for 40 years. People don't realize it. They think that we're moving into the digital world. I've been using, and you've been using, digital dollars for 40 years already. What we are changing now is in a more advanced form of digital currency, a digital cryptic. Each dollar is identified with a code and can circulate electronically, but we know each one, which is the case for Bitcoin, but it is based on a fiat currency like the US dollar, the euro, the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen, or like the Chinese are doing with the yuan. And there has been an announcement about a month ago, I think 2 months ago, the IMF in collaboration with European central banks have created a committee with the Bank for International Settlements in Basel to create a working group to study the potential of a crypto payment system, a crypto international currency, let's say a crypto SDR currency. So they are studying it. United States refused, typical of Donald Trump of hating anything that's international, refused to join the group, but has created, the Fed announced, Mr. Powell, that they are creating their own study group in United States. So you have the Fed studying a crypto stable coin, fiat stable coin. You have the Europeans with Japan, Canada, and the International Bank for International Settlements working on a payment system, and you have the Chinese and the Russian working together on one of those systems, because the Russians and the Chinese are working together. So it is evident that the central banks will take back control on the cryptocurrency world, away from the original anarchist, decentralized Bitcoin idea, where Bitcoin, that nobody controls it, nobody owns it, nobody, it floats by itself, which is I call it a beautiful utopic idea. I don't dismiss it, but I think it's utopic, like the idea of communism